Okay, as promised, I'm going to show you the process and just what you'll need to be able to change your transmission fluid. I've got a 2017 Nissan Titan. It has the same transmission as the 2019. It's a matter of fact, I don't think they changed it to the 9-speed until 2020. So all the second gen 2016 to 2019 have the same Jatco 7-speed transmission. So the process is the same. There's no dipstick. So that's the big issue with this transmission. Makes it a little bit more difficult to change fluid because it's a sealed transmission. Everything you have to do is from the underside of the truck. So anyway, first off, this is the transmission fluid I've actually been using. The Valvoline Max Life multi-vehicle automatic transmission fluid. It's fully synthetic. I've been using it for quite some time now. I put probably 3,000 miles a month on my truck because of my job. I work in construction sales. It's done its job. It's been great. So I actually bought one of these here, which is just a yard sprayer, but I bought a brand new one just to fill the transmission fluid, and I'll show you why you'll need something like that. But I took the little wand off and just got some cheap tubing and then put it over the little end right there, and held a little heat gun up just a little bit just to kind of make it seal around it really good, and it does the job. So I usually, do probably 20 to 25 pumps and fill it up that way. It does pretty good. So sometimes you have to repump depending on how much you're having to put in there at the time. So my drain plug is a 19 millimeter. Yours should be the same. So you're gonna need a 19 millimeter socket. You're gonna need a number 5 metric Allen wrench. And then this right here is the little filler plug. So that is a CTA 7425. If you look right here, this is it on Amazon. This is the one I ordered. CTA 7425. It's the, it says Infinity on it, but obviously Nissan makes Infinity, but the 7-speed. So that's what you want. It's 20 bucks. It'll come in pretty quick. And then depending on if you want to drop your pan and clean your pan out, I did that probably, it's been a little while. I do drain and fills about every 12 to 15,000 miles right now. But I think I dropped and changed this gasket out at, let's see, at 75,000 miles, I think is when I did it. Because when you drop that pan, you're going to have to change this out anyway. So, and I just cleaned my pan out really good. I would probably recommend if you're at 60 or over, it might be a good idea to drop it. I'm actually going to drop mine again the next time around and change it out and clean it out really good. It's not hard to do at all, but you just want to make sure you do put a new gasket on so you don't get any leaks. So let's get up under the truck just real quick. Oh, one other thing I'm going to show you. I've got an OBD2 monitor that's Bluetooth, and this right here is very important. So you want to be able to read your ATF temperature. There's 2 temperature gauges on these trucks. You want to go by the ATF Temp 1, so the number 1 sensor. We'll come back to that in just a minute, but I'm just going to show kind of up under the truck here what you need to do when you are draining and filling. So let's roll up under here. Tight fit, so sorry for the shaky camera. All right, so here's the transmission pan. This right here, that's your drain plug, okay? This is your fill plug, all right? It is highly recommended before you change anything out in this thing, before you drain any fluid, come over here and put your wrench on here and open and make sure this can bust loose, okay? Because there's nothing gonna be more miserable if you cannot get that dude loose and you drain your transmission fluid. That's gonna be a problem. So this is your drain. Make sure you can break this loose as long as you can turn it. Don't take it all the way out, but you'll be good shape then. If you decide to drop the pan, it's just a whole bunch of these little screws that go around here. It's a lot of them. So you're gonna have to remove every single one. It's a balancing act because there's gonna be fluid in the pan. You're gonna drip, you're gonna do this, it's gonna spill. But the pan here is a little bit kind of funky shaped. As you can see, it's lower here and then it's obviously higher here because you want to have a higher level when you're refilling. So but this right here is also where your little filler tube is gonna, your little adapter is gonna go. So when you take this out, you just hand screw this in and it's gonna be, it'll be mounted there. When you do connect your filler tube, you want to make sure you slide it all the way up to the top. All right, I actually did mine the first time. Every time I do it, I'd actually use a different tube, but slide it up and then heat it up a little bit just to kind of seal it off, just because you don't want any of that fluid to back up over here. All right, so this right here is going to be torqued when you're finished. This is going to be a 25 pound-foot torque, so you want to torque it to spec. And then this one right here is a 9 foot-pound torque. So when you're done here, you want to do that here, okay? Now, here's the important parts. When you drain your fluid here, that's why you want that ATF monitor, the fluid monitor, because you want to know your temperature. You want to be at 104 degrees Fahrenheit or less, okay? It's apparently that 104 is the swell point of the fluid. When the fluid heats up, it actually thickens up. You want to be at 104 or below. Now what I do is I obviously make sure this is loose, put my drain pan under the truck, and go ahead and take this off. I'm going to open this up. There's going to be a little crush washer. I'll show you those, but I use the same crush washer for this that I do when I change my oil up front. You can order those from Amazon or buy a bag of them from O'Reilly. But drain your fluid out, and you're going to let this drain all the way until it's going to be a steady stream, and then it's going to kind of start breaking the stream, and then it's going to basically just come to a drip. When it comes to that drip, just tighten this back up in there, okay? So once it comes to that drip, then you're ready to go over here and open this up. You're going to put your little filler adapter on there. You're going to screw it in. You're going to slide your tube on. I recommend sliding it on and off every time you take this on and off, because when you need to take this off, you don't want to have to twist that whole tube. It makes it just a whole mess right here. And then you're going to start filling, okay? Now, the way that I do this, when I drain, I put it in the pan, and then I stole one of my wife's tea pitchers, a little clear plastic pitcher, and I pour all that fluid back in there. And then I measure it out to see how much I actually took out. So I want to make sure I put at least that much back in when I go back in. All right, so I'm going to fill that back up in there. And then once I get that amount of fluid in there, I'm going to take it, once it's all empty, the measured amount, I'm going to hurry up and pull that tube. You know, I'll pull the tube off, I'll plug the bottom hole, and then I'll hurry up and take this off. And then I hurry up and put this back in and just hand tighten it. All right, I don't, you know, torque it down yet. I just hand tighten it just like I did this one, because we're going to do more than one drain and fill. Okay, so I'm going to tighten that up, and then we're good to go for a minute. All right, so then I'm going to crank the car up, the truck up, and let it run for just a few minutes to kind of let that fluid circulate. All right, and then once it's finished running and circulating, I'm going to turn it back off. I usually let it run for like 3 minutes. Turn it back off, lift it back up, and then repeat that whole process again. Okay, the one that we just went over, you're going to repeat the whole process again. Once that process is complete again, obviously you're filling it up. You raise it up, you drain it. You crank the truck, 3 minutes you run on it, and then you lower it back down, and then I did it again. So I did this 3 full rounds, okay? So I did it again. I drained it all out, and then I filled it up. Now, here's the difference. After your third fill, when you're done draining, go ahead and torque your filler tube, your filler nut all the way to the 25 foot-pound, all right? When you do it, this right here is going to be your little crush washers you're going to need right here, okay? Just so you know, there's the, if you want to get it, there's your part numbers right there. So these are the same ones as your oil. All right, you're going to go ahead and torque that all the way. All right, then you're going to go to your filler plug, you're going to fill your fluid up, and then you're going to take your tube off again, and then you're going to hand tighten again. Okay, once you hand tighten that, you're going to get out, you're going to crank your truck up again, and you're going to let it run for about 3 minutes. Now, after about 3 minutes of run time, you're going to want to go through each one of the gears. Okay, at this whole time, you want to be monitoring that ATF temperature. So if you feel like it's rising too quick, you can cut down on that 3 minutes. But you want to go through shifting. You want to go all the way down to your manual mode. You want to go into neutral. You want to go into drive. You want to go into reverse, and then put it back in park. All right, I try to let mine sit there for at least 5 seconds. All right, that just kind of lubes all the gears up, and the transmission pump's putting the fluid where it needs to go. All right. You want to get the truck's ATF temperature right to 104 now. Remember, before we wanted to be 104 or less. So if it was less, that's okay. So honestly, you could start off on a cold truck when you first start this process. I recommend it. That's what I do, simply because if I have been running the truck and come home, let it cool down, it gets down to 80, well, I'm going to heat that fluid back up pretty quick, because this last step's the most important. You want it at 104, all right? You don't want it very far below, and you don't want to go over. Shift it through the gears, then put it in park, put your emergency brake on, be safe, whatever. That's what they all say. And then you're going to get back onto the truck with the truck idling, okay? Your hole that you filled with the adapter, you're going to unscrew that, that plug, and you're going to take it out. And what's going to happen is that fluid is going to drain as a steady stream, okay? Now, the way that I measure to make sure I have enough fluid in there is as it pours and it has that steady stream, all right? Remember, you're not putting the adapter in there. You're leaving that out, because now we're just bouncing off the amount of fluid at 104. When that steady stream becomes a trickle, like it's breaking, you're going to start seeing it break, because it's going to start kind of getting to about right level where the plug hole is. When it breaks and it's like getting right to that point of dripping, hurry up and plug it up. Torque it down to 9 foot-pound torque, boom, you're done, okay? I know that's a lot of description. I don't need to do a drain and fill right now, because otherwise I would record this. I just want to walk you through on this. That way you can kind of pause it and do whatever and write down notes. So that's the way that you do it. So I do 3 rounds. I do that on my truck now. I'm doing it at every 40,000 miles, only because I drive my truck hard. I put 3,000 miles a month on it for work. I'm at 142,000 right now on it. I do 1 drain and fill, just 1 round. That final set stage that I just described, I do that every 10 to 12,000 miles. I just do that to keep fresh fluid in this transmission. You can add, man, I think I had a bottle of it in here, a little bit more. Maybe I used it all. But it's made by Lube Guard. There's one that's a shutter stop. Let's see here. Let's see if I can pull it up real quick. Sorry, I'm trying not to make this video very long, but that didn't work out too well. Lube Guard shutter. Now, I added this into mine because mine actually started having some shutter issues. There it is right there. Shutter fix. It's 10 bucks. Small little tube like this. You can put that in your tank and add that in if you got some shuttering. You can also add this in there with it as well. This Lube Guard protectant, synthetic ATF protectant. You can put that in there, and that helps protect, you know, your gaskets and your seals. I've used both of them. I've had no issues. When I drain it out, I look at my fluid. Just to give you an idea, I saved this right here just because I thought it was kind of fun, but that right there is what my fluid looked like at, I think this was at 120,000 mile service that I did on it. Yeah, it was 120,000 mile service. So this was a full change out. This was a 3-cycle round. That's how dark the fluid was. Now this stuff does change to get dark because of the temperature. So, I mean, you know, do with what you want on that. So, if you want to, when you drain out the bad fluid too, the old fluid, if you can get you like a little screen from the kitchen, you know, a screen strainer, and pour it through there. And that way you can kind of look in there and see what kind of metals you have in there. If it's real fine dust metals, you're good. It's just normal. But if you got some pretty big chunks in there, I would recommend not servicing it anymore once you do this one. That's just kind of old school stuff that I've learned from some mechanics that I've learned a lot from. If you got some pretty big chunks in there, fill it back up and leave it alone, because chances are you keep draining and dropping, you know, fluids, you're going to have some issues potentially. You might make it to where those little pieces are holding things together, and then you're going to have transmission trouble. But if you keep regular maintenance on it, like I do with mine, man, you ought to be good to go. I mean, these Jatco transmissions aren't the greatest in the world. We all know that, but as long as you service them and take care of your vehicle, I think that, you know, you can get some miles, man. I mean, again, 142,000 miles on this truck. I think I bought this thing with, I don't remember, 19,000 miles maybe. I'm not sure. So I bought it used, but it's been a good truck. Same original equipment on it. Knock on wood, no problems. Just make sure you keep your service up on it. If you got any questions or anything, just shoot me a message, man. No problem.